One, two, three.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Hello, today I want to tell about my our presentation. This is the topic our presentation, and then before we start, maybe we can introduce ourselves. My name is Rafael Propela Pugul.
My name is Helen Trezoria.
My name is Dekaran Nugroho.
My name is Feliza Prabowo Lelita. My name is Maria Cinta. My name is Nara Dora. My name is Nicholas Orvela.
Okay, we can start the first.
Okay, so to start it all, let me guide you with this. Overview 1. Tax enforcement, series of legal action to collect unpaid tax debit. 2. Enforcement instruments, seizure, travel ban, hashtag taking dieseling. 3. Tax crimes, negligence, willful fraud, fake invoice and penalty. 4. Investigation, PPNS power, evidence, termination of case. 5. Officer accountability, sanction of legal protection for tax officer. Okay, after that it will be continued by Deborah.
Okay, I will explain about tax enforcement definition and process. Tax enforcement is a series of legal action taken against a taxpayer to compel the payment of outstanding tax debt and enforcement costs, regular under law number 19/1997. It is not merely a request for payment, but a concrete legal mechanism designed to ensure compliance with tax obligation. The object of enforcement include tax debt, which consists of the principal tax amount and administrative sanctions such as interest, fines, and surcharges, as well as enforcement costs incurred during the collection process, including service fees, seizure costs, auction announcement fees, and appeal fees. The tax enforcement process follows a strict legal timeline consisting of 6 stages. First, the taxpayer is required to pay the tax liability within 1 month after receiving the tax assessment letter, or within 2 months for taxpayer located in remote areas. If payment is not made by the due date, the enforcement process begins. The second stage is the issuance of a warning letter, which is 7 days after the payment deadline. This letter serves as an official reminder of taxpayers' unpaid obligation. If the taxpayer still fails to make payment, the process ends after 21 days. The third stage involves the forced collection order, which is the primary legal instrument in tax enforcement. Once the order is officially served by a tax bailiff, the taxpayer is given only 2 by 24 hours to settle the outstanding debt. The forced collection order has the same legal force as a final and binding court judgment. If the taxpayer continues to ignore the obligation, the fourth stage, known as the seizure order, is carried out. At this stage, the tax bailiff, accompanied by 2 witnesses, formally record and seize the taxpayer asset as security for the unpaid tax debt. The fifth stage is the auction announcement. The announcement is published in a mass media to inform the public about the planned sale of the seized asset. Movable property is announced once, while immovable property such as land and building must be announced twice. The taxpayer is still given up to 14 days to settle the debt before the auction takes place. The final stage is the auction. During this stage, the seized assets are sold through a public auction. The process are used to pay the taxpayer outstanding tax debt and enforcement costs. If the auction generates funds exceeding the amount owed, the surplus is returned to the taxpayer. In certain urgent circumstances, the Directorate General of Tax may bypass the normal enforcement timeline and demand immediate and full payment. This special procedure applies when a taxpayer intends to leave Indonesia permanently, is transferring asset, is winding down a business, is involved in a merger or dissolution process, or shows sign of sign of impending bankruptcy. The purpose of this provision is to protect state revenue when there is significant risk that the taxpayer asset may disappear or become unavailable for collection. It is important to note that every stage of tax enforcement must be supported by formal legal documentation. The process cannot be arbitrarily short or bypassed, except in situations specifically authorized by law under the immediate and full collection provision. Next.
Okay. Next is enforcement instruments. So besides the normal tax collection process, there are 3 special enforcement tools used for taxpayers who are difficult to collect from seizure of assets, travel ban, and hostage taking or gizling. Each action can only be used under certain legal conditions. First, I will explain about seizure. Seizure is the process of taking control of a taxpayer's assets before they are sold at auction. The process is carried out by a tax bailiff and must be witnessed by at least 2 adults. So the assets that can be seized are divided into 2 categories. The first is movable assets and the second is immovable assets. Movable assets include cars and motorcycles, jewelry, electronics, cash, bank savings, and stock and bonds. Meanwhile, immovable assets include land, buildings, and lordships. After the seizure, the taxpayer is not allowed to sell, to rent, to hide, and the taxpayer is not allowed to sell, to rent, to hide, damage, and transfer these assets. But not all assets can be seized because the law protects certain basic necessities, including clothes and bedding, food for 1 month, government work equipment, books and any educational tools, small business equipment worth up to $20 million rupiah, equipment used by people with disabilities. And next, let's move on to the travel ban. A travel ban prevents a taxpayer from leaving Indonesia. This measure is used when there is a risk that the taxpayer may leave the country to avoid paying tax debt. Before a travel ban can be imposed, 2 conditions must be met. The unpaid tax debt must be at least $100 million rupiah, and there must be proof that the taxpayer is unwilling to settle the debt. In addition, the travel ban must be approved by the Ministry of Finance and carried out through the immigration authority. And then finally the last is hostage taking, also known as gizling. This is the strongest tax enforcement measure because it allows the government to detain a taxpayer in a special detention facility. The requirements are the same as those for a travel ban. The unpaid tax debt must be at least 100 million rupiah, and there must be proof that the taxpayer is unwilling to pay. The detention period can last up to 6 months and might be extended once, making the maximum period 12 months. It is important to remember that detention does not remove the tax debt. The taxpayer is still legally required to pay the full amount. A taxpayer can be released if the debt is fully paid, the detention period ends, a court orders the release, and the Minister of Finance decides to release the taxpayer.
Next, Sandy.
Okay, so I'm going to continue about the state priority rights and prescription. The state as favored creditor is on Article 21 of UU KUP, and then you guys can imagine a taxpayer owes money to several parties like on bank, on suppliers, and government for unpaid taxes. According to Article 21 of UU KUP, the government has favored creditor right. This means the government must be paid first. In simple terms, if someone has a tax debt, the government has to be the front line to pay the tax. And this priority covers principal, interest,
fines, surcharge, enforcement costs, and for the exceptions, there are three. For the exception is court costs for actions, asset safeguarding costs, and probate or inheritance costs. In bankruptcy of liquidation, the creditor cannot distribute assets to other creditors until the taxpayer's tax that have been settled. So, I will continue about the 5 years prescription period for enforcement art of 2022 UKUHP. The prescription period is the government's right to collect unpaid taxes does not last forever. So according to this KUHP, the government has 5 years to collect unpaid taxes from the date the tax assessment letter or STP is issued. For example, a tax assessment letter is issued on January 1, 2020. Normally, the collection will be expired on January 1, 2025. But if Surat Paksa issued on December 1, 2024, and government can still collect the tax debt till December of 1, 2025.
Next, Andri.
So, the Article 21 gives the government priority over other creditors in collecting unpaid taxes, while Article 2022 sets a 5 years limitation for tax collection. However, certain actions such as Surat Paksa, installment request, or criminal investigation can restart the 5-year period.
The next type of tax offense and penalty. Overview: Indonesian tax law distinguishes between administrative violations, which carry fines and surcharges but are not criminal, and criminal tax offense, which can lead to prosecution. This slide focuses on the 5 categories of criminal tax offense under UKUHP. The first, negligence. Negligence under tax law refer to unintentional failures that result in incorrect or missing tax filings. The 2 main acts covered are: 1. Failing to submit a tax return (SPT) at all, and 2. Submitting an SPT that is incorrect or incomplete. 2 important conditions must be for Article 38 to apply. Like, it must be the second willful misconduct. This is the core criminal profession for international tax violations. The key would be deliberately, the taxpayer knowingly and intentionally committed. The Article 39 covers a wide range of conduct. Penalty: imprisonment of between 6 months and 6 years, and a fine of between 2 and 4 times the underlying tax amount. The third, repeat offense or pengulangan. If a taxpayer who has previously been convicted under Article 39 commits the same category of offense again within 1 year of completing their present sentence, the penalties under Article 39 are automatically double. So the imprisonment rate become 1 year to 12 years. The fourth, attempted fraud of presentation. This profession targets taxpayer who attempt to claim to tax refund or tax credit they are not entitled to by submitting false documents or using fabricated tax identification. The fifth, fraudulent tax innovation. Article 39A was added specifically to address one of the most common and costly tax crimes in Indonesia: the use of tax invoices atau faktur pajak fiktif. The penalty imprisonment of between 2 and 6 years and a fine of between 2 and 6 times the value staked on the fraudulent innovation or documents. And then the last, criminal protection for tax offense. Under our 14 UU KUP, the right to prosecute any of the above criminal offense experienced after 10 years, and then 10 years period is count from 8 year. The time the tax obligation first arose, or B, the end of the relevant tax year, whichever applies to the offense. The next.
So the next is tax crime investigations, or in Indonesia we should call it penyidikan. So the series of actions by PPNS DJP, or we should call it civil sergeants investigator, to collect evidence and identify suspect of tax crimes. It should be at the Article 1, number 31, and Undang-Undang KUP or KUHAP. So the first one is the criminally evident. It's a basic things in KUHAP. Actually, in Indonesia, you have always when you start penyidikan, you always have the permulaan. So how you can have the criminal evidence is, first you have to be triggered by report, complaint, or direct DJP finding. You can find it on Article 43A. And the preliminary audit atau pemeriksaan buku pertama, presents formal investigation. If evidence is sufficient, or in Indonesia ketika si buktinya cukup, formal investigations can be opened. And usually the penyidikan, or we call it investigation, is thorough, and then conducted through Polri, and then after that forwarded to public prosecutor. And then determination by Article 44A by PPNS. This is when the bukti permulaan or criminal evidence didn't have sufficient finding. So say by this, insufficient evidence, another tax crimes, prescription expired, or suspect has died. The prescription expired, what Kalsa said is 5 years is maximums. So if it passed the 5 years, the statute of limitation is actually expired. So the case cannot be opened again, or the suspect has died, because in KUP the tax still issue when the person is still alive. But when they don't, or they actually die, it's not their duty anymore. So next. Okay, so tax officer accountability and ethics. This is actually very interesting part, because every tax officer have the accountability and ethics. It should be had by everyone in this room, because we have you should have accountability and ethics in every aspect of your life, because it is that important. So in Article 30A, which actually have been discussed by Bravo, negligence and deliberate error, you can have that in tax lawyer. Then extortions, and then legal protections, and then acting beyond authority. This is usually when PPNS doing his jobs, sometimes they just acting beyond authority, doing not in aspect of KUP, but instead of pidana perdata, that's actually very beyond authority of them. So this is the most corrupt one because it includes abuse of power and corruptions. Before we close, actually we have a study cases in here. I want to bring this discussion to life with the ring test. Everything we have talked about, the power of tax officers, the risk of abuse, and the importance of accountability can be seen in one single story that shook Indonesia to its core. I don't know if you know this guy is Gayus Tambunan because when I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, actually the song Andai Aku Gayus Tambunan is just merely, it's just, I don't know, maybe you have heard it or not at the time, I don't know, because I was born in 2004, so I was,
It means you old.
yeah, you can say that. So the background, you have to know, Gayus Tambunan at that time was just merely a civil servant at the JP rank 3A. Monthly salary-nya only 12 million. The suspicious wealth that he have was actually around 100 million. Okay, this is the equivalent of 688 years of salary of doing the basic things that he should have done. So PPATK at that time think, so PPATK at that time think that this number is obnoxious because how can a guy that earn 12 million per month suddenly have a total wealth in as 100 billion? Maybe you can see at the back screen. Just should I continue the presentation?
Yes, continue, no problem. You can use your own language, your own.
Gayus' offenses were layered in mutuality and parsing. Actually, he was not alone actor. Because at every stage, he paid others to look other way or actively help him. So it's not about Gayus' problems, it's system problem. So it's actually structural problems because every aspect in DJP at that time was actually helping Gayus Tambunan to achieve actually 100 billion of his own wealth. So it includes manipulating tax assessment, and then bribing judges and police, and then bribing prison officials, and I don't know, this is maybe a stupid things that he do is actually forging passport. So if you don't know, Gayus Tambunan actually got imprisoned for 26 years, but maybe he got a little bored at the prison, and then he went undercover and actually watched tennis match in Bali, and then he got more than he should have been. So the conclusion was the final sentence after all appeals and on judicial review was 26 years in prison. And this is exactly what Article 36A of UU KUP is about. A tax officer who uses their position for personal gain is not protected by the law. They are prosecuted under anti-corruption law and the penal code. The safe harbor provision under Article 38, number 5, protects officers who act in a good faith. It has nothing to say to someone like Gayus. The case left a lasting mark on Indonesia tax administration. It triggered major reforms at the DJP and elevated the role of financial intelligence monitoring. But it also showed that when tax officers abuse their power, the consequences are not just personal. They erode public trust in the entire system.
Finalists, thank
literally every step. From the warning letter to the auction is governed by law and follows a mandatory sequence. The structure protects both the state and the taxpayer. 2. In any insolvency scenario, tax obligation take priority. This has real consequence for creditors, investors, and business partners of struggling companies. Understanding this principle is essential for anyone working in commercial law or business transaction. 3. The law differences between honest mistakes and deliberate fraud. The consequence scale accordingly, from administrative fines for negligence all the way to 6 years imprisonment and 6 times fine for fraudulent invoice terms. Is the
Decision.
factor. 4. Tax crime investigation is not handled by the regular police in the first instance. PPNS, DJP are civil servants with specific statutory powers to investigate tax offense. They operate under KUHAP that are separate from police. 5. The FDD terminate an investigation is in exchange for full payment plus 4 times fine gives the DJP enormous leverage. 6. Tax officer have significant coercive authority.
Tutupan pakai bahasa Inggris silahkan. Closing statement.
Closing statement from our leader.
I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. For next class, yeah. For next group, I hope you're gonna be better, yeah. At least the same quality, the same performance with this class, yeah.
No, I cannot. I can
I can speak English. If you
little.
little, yeah.